10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Discussing everything about the afterlife and spirit world. Coming to you all the way from Ireland. It's Sandie Byrne.
Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of Life After Life with me, Sandie Byrne. Now in this episode I want to talk a bit about energy healing and in particular meditation, okay? Huge complex topic that I'm not an expert on, but over the summer I got an opportunity to sit down with energy healing specialist Natalie Bedard, who following a near brush with death reevaluated everything so that she could deepen her connection with herself in order to heal herself. Okay, I'm going to let her explain it all to you. So, Natalie, welcome to the podcast, and thank you so much for joining us here on Life After Life. You're in Ottawa, you were telling me.
Yes, I am.
For those who aren't aware, it's a little bit north of Toronto, is that right?
Correct. It's 4 hours north, going northeast, and then it's 2 hours from Montreal. So other people may know Montreal, Quebec. So we do kind of a
Elizabeth.
triangle. We're the Bermuda Triangle.
Because my geography is fairly bad. I actually did I've done a lot of work in Canada, and I did a show in Ottawa and I did a show in Ottawa, and I keep getting mixed up between the two, but which I'd imagine probably is quite common. Oshawa, people
Yep.
probably get mixed up between those. So there are two places that I've actually visited, but asked me to find it on a map, and I probably couldn't. I'd just be guided by my nose. Anyway. So, Natalie, I asked you onto the podcast here because I want to talk to you in a few minutes about some of the services that you offer people. But the real thing that I want to get into is talking about meditation, which I know is a primary thing for you. Do you mind if I start by asking you about your past? Okay, because I always say that a lot of listeners think that you and I were born working in the holistic area. Okay, and we weren't. Okay, we have a family, we have a life outside of it. So, would you mind telling us a bit about your past? What did you do in the past, and how did you get into working in this area?
Well, the short of it is I almost died 10 years ago.
Oh my God, what
Yeah,
happened?
so I had lesions in my cerebellum and my brainstem. And so I was hospitalized for almost 40 days, and they were doing a battery of tests and couldn't find what was causing the lesions. And so in that, my body was shutting down completely. The lesions had actually physically moved the positioning of my eyes. So I was cross-eyed, I had vertigo. I hadn't had a bowel movement in like 6 weeks. I couldn't hold anything down. Yeah, I was hell in my
Scary.
body. Yeah, and in extreme pain because some of the lesions and the swelling were in my meninges. So when people have meningitis, it's in your meninges, that swelling, so it creates significant pain. So I was released from the hospital, and if you don't have a diagnosis, you don't have a plan. So I was put into the wilderness. And a year after that, that's when I discovered meditation. Thankfully, has the universe, God, Allah, whatever you call your higher divine, connected me with somebody that we now know that we knew each other in previous lifetimes because of just the ease of things. It was on her brother's birthday, who had transitioned a few years back, that we went to learn meditation. So I'm always thanking him, Taff, that thank you for honoring us to really go deeper within and find that portal, that door that everybody speaks about, that we keep looking on the outside where it's like it's always there. It's within yourself. So meditation allowed me to somatically release a lot of the trauma that was in my nervous system. And so some people might hear somatically, what are you talking? Or they might hear the word and it's like, I don't really comprehend this. As I tell people, we're feeling bodies that think. We run off of energy. Yet
Yes.
at a young age, we're told not to really believe in that. Like we could have went into a room when we were young and we were like, something feels off, but the adults or the caretakers told us, no, no, nothing's wrong, everything's good. But really, there was something wrong, and they fed us the lie. So we started believing the lie and not listening to our truth of our nervous system being able to read the frequencies in other people's nervous systems. So somatically, what happens when you've stored a lot of emotions and not known how to be with your intuition, there becomes a suppression in your body and a denseness. And so when the body, all it needs is to release it. But what we usually do is analyze it and it gets stuck and gets pushed back down. So somatically, when you can surrender the analytical mind, all the things can be released in the body. So that can be shivers, that can be crying, that can be yelling, that can be shaking, that can be a sensation coming through. And then once those sensations come, you feel an openness and a lightness in your body. Because each time when I do it with my clients, they're like, I had no idea I was storing that. I'm like, we don't. We're
No.
not taught to pay attention to this stuff. We're not taught to really be honest with what we're feeling and to be able to have conversations and communication within ourselves first and then externally. We just keep suppressing or we keep projecting. And so with those somatic releases that I went through, I was able to have front seat to the nervous system, really understand it in more of a profound way and a more in-depth way. Rewind before this incident that happened in 2014 of me almost dying with the lesions, which I call my previous life, because my life
Yeah.
changed dramatically. Because like I said, I was told I was going to die, and here I am 10 years later walking, which they
Wow.
said I wouldn't be able to do, drive, and all these things. I was in law enforcement, so security with the government. So I used to do interviews to determine if you were a liability and if you could be given your security clearance. So I got, the ins and outs of people's behaviors. So criminal, sexual, financial, all that kind of stuff. And so in that job, I remember always people used to say like, you are a ray of sunshine in this dark, cloudy place. Like you don't belong here. And then in my interviews too, people would reveal a lot of things that they were like, we would never know this stuff. Like, how are they telling you this? And I'm like, oh, it must be my smile.
Yeah.
And I've always had that since I was young, that people would confide in me. I would be a millionaire for the amount of times that I hear, I've never told somebody this before, yet I feel safe to tell you this. So there's something with my nervous system that gives a co-regulation that somebody can hook into my nervous system and feel a sense of safety to just be themselves and to reveal some of the things that have been a secret. Yet, once they reveal it, they're able to connect better with themselves and remove the holes with an H and be in their wholeness with a W. And so I never really, and rewind back, I had like, sexual trauma as a child. There was a lot of dysfunction in the whole family dynamics of aunts and all that. And so when I was a teen, it came to me very clearly to be a child psychologist because I understood the depths of pain that children go through, yet they're not listened to. They're not really supported in what is needed. And then fast forward, I didn't follow through with that. But as the universe would have it, I even said to myself that I wasn't going to have children. I didn't want to bring children into a world that had so much pain. But I think subconsciously, I also knew what trauma can do if you don't really handle it as a parent, what can get passed on to your children. And I didn't follow the child psychologist part, yet I did have children. So I learned child psychology in one way, yet I do believe in my belief that parenting is the highest spiritual practice to learn about yourself because what they reflect back, if you're willing to see it, you're like, whew, just like me, or better understanding of, oh, you're your own autonomous human being going through your own experiences that I'm trying to control or trying to label. And if you aren't willing to see, then you project a lot of harm and fear onto that human being because you're not able to do your own inner work. So a really more profound way of understanding healing and not being in that blame game, not trying to find the victim and the culprit. It's like, let's understand the dynamics of what it is to be human and what our nervous systems do, and what these roles that we haven't even been properly informed to step into. We're just told that we're not good enough, or we're not doing it right, or this and that. And it's like that amps up your nervous system, and you're not even able to trust yourself.
Yeah,
So, in that discovery of everything, this is how I came about to be here now, doing the work with Lift Oneself and showing, guiding people to come back within themselves and to create that trust and better understanding of their nervous system, and just providing a space so that people can start being honest with themselves, not
sure.
with having to be honest with the world. It's like the first step is being honest with yourself and not evilizing yourself, having context and better understanding why you did the things that you did and the choices that you did, which is very difficult because your awareness now wants to chastise the awareness back then, where you should have known better or you didn't listen. And then, yeah, some of it is factual, yet again, context. Why didn't you take action or listen to some of your inner guidance? Again, trust and safety. Your biology will always trump with safety, whatever it deems is safe. So
Yeah,
if it means being in a toxic relationship because that feels familiar and feels like home, that feels safe. But it logically, it doesn't make sense.
no,
But that's what wiring in the body is. And until you're able to face it and better understand and rewire it and start listening that, okay, this familiar thing, I have to change that. I have to rise above that and come back into my worth. I've been separated from self. I've been separated from worth. Yet that's that journey, that's that alchemy of coming back within.
hence the Lift Oneself website, which we'll talk about in a minute. So, gosh, you've been through a lot. You know, you've had several reincarnations, if you like, throughout your lifetime. A bit of a
And I have
what?
twins,
You have twins as well. Oh my goodness.
twin boys, and they were 4 when I was going through the hospital scare. Yeah, so them
Oh,
being traumatized and all going, yeah. So there's a lot that I even haven't said,
yes,
yet I have experience. So when people speak with me, they're like, where did you learn all this? And I'm like, life. I have life
life. Yeah.
experiences. I've walked through the talk that I'm speaking about.
I was going to call you Forrest Gump, but I might call you Slumdog Millionaire now. Have you seen those movies? Yeah. So, let's come back, if that's okay, to coming out of your illness, okay? Because I know you said that it was a year maybe after the hospital stay that you discovered meditation. So, was going down the route of, this self-discovery to heal yourself, was this the first time that you came across meditation?
Yes.
Okay, and you're using meditation to control your nervous system, is it?
It's not controlling, it's being able to create safety back in the body.
Ah, okay. You see, there's a difference, and someone like me doesn't know because people often ask me about meditation, and I have to say I find meditation very difficult. Now, what I do, I'm a medium, and people talk about meditation to connect with spirit. So it's kind of a different thing. I call it more an awareness of energy more than meditation, because if I call it meditation, I will fall asleep because that's what I tend to do. Put on some, relaxing music and give me 2 minutes and I'm fast asleep. So I'm hoping that you can explain to me and to the audience today, okay? How do you meditate? How do you get into that state where you just connect with you, but you don't fall asleep? Because, like, as I say, I'm thinking about, did I put the clothes in the dryer? Did I take something out of the freezer for dinner? When I'm trying to meditate, these are the things that are going into my head. So, like, is there a secret behind it? How did you connect with it?
So as I said, I do lived experience. Would you allow me to guide you into a meditation right now? It'll be like a minute and a half, 2 minutes, so you
Sure, I'd
can
love
see
it.
what
Yeah.
that looks like. Okay, and for the listeners, I'm going to ask Sandie to close her eyes. Yet, if you are driving, please don't do that because I want you to be safe and everybody else. And if you are getting sleepy with my prompts and you are needing your visual, just fast forward over to the conversation. Yet I'd invite you to come back into this mindful moment so you can better understand what this can provide for you. So, Sandie, as I said, get comfortable in your seat, close your eyes,
Yep.
and you're going to begin breathing in and out through your nose. And you're going to bring your awareness to watching your breath go in and out through your nose. You're not going to try and control your breath. You're just going to be aware of its rhythm and watching the breath go into your nostrils, inflating your lungs, and exhaling, possibly feeling the air on your upper lip. Now, there may be some sensations or feelings coming up in the body. It's okay. Let them come up. You're safe to feel. You're safe to let go. Surrender the need to control. Release the need to resist and just be. Be with your breath. Drop into your body, keeping your awareness on your breath. There may be some thoughts or memories coming up or a to-do list. It's okay. Gently bring your awareness back to your breath. Not trying to shut down those thoughts, just creating space that you don't have to be identified in them, that you can stay with your breath and drop deeper into your body. You may be aware now that the rhythm of your breath has changed. Just staying with your breath, dropping deeper into your body, allowing there to be a softness and ease. Again, the thoughts may have come and interrupted, and it's just beginning again and gently bringing your awareness back to focusing and being aware of your breath going in and out through your nose. Now, while still staying with your breath, at your own time and at your own pace, you're going to gently open your eyes and still stay with your breath.
Can I talk?
Yes, you can, of course.
I said, okay, are we finished? Because I felt like I was just getting into that. I would really need, obviously, more time, which we don't have on the podcast. But when we were starting
Thank
out,
you.
because obviously I do breath work for getting people to connect with spirit, but this is very different because it's more a self connection, isn't it? You know, it's more
Mhm.
about just feeling yourself. Whereas I kind of would tell people when we're connecting with spirit to identify you, but then put yourself aside and let spirit in. Whereas this is
Mhm.
very much just connecting with yourself, and it actually feels nice. You know,
Yeah.
I don't know how long I'd hold it, but I suppose you'd build up to that, would you?
You do. You do more and more because you're regulating the nervous system. Because the part that you're saying aside, you
Yeah.
were creating a certain breath work to kind of stunt the nervous system so that
Okay.
it's not in high panic. So you're really putting like if I can give it a comparison, a high sedation so that you're not listening to this, you can hear the other frequencies that you usually tune out from. And
Yes.
so what I'm actually doing is letting you come back into your body, face the nervous system, which we usually don't. What I call ego is the defense mechanisms of the nervous system. And the defense mechanisms shield us from going into our vulnerability, which goes into our worth and goes into spirit and connection. And so when you can be at an ease with your nervous system, all these things can flow very naturally, and that it's not ramping you up. Because a lot of people, when they start getting messages from the other side and hearing different things, it startles them, and then it's like it's a lot of panic, and your mind is going very fast because your nervous system is very dysregulated and it's trying to find safety. And so when I bring people in, and so that they can regulate, that they can have a trust with themselves, because what you're guiding them, they're trusting in you that they can trust themselves.
I get
And
it.
that's
I get
that trust that you're building. So by doing what I'm helping individuals is come back into trusting you, and recognizing the uniqueness of your biology. You're a radio frequency that can bring in a lot of music and information, yet there's a lot of static because your nervous system is just ramped up. And
Yeah,
now you can have the ability to create that safety for yourself.
I love it.
Does that make sense?
Oh, it makes total sense. I mean, it really, really does. Um, can I ask, because you did say, and I felt like you were reading my mind when you said the thoughts might be coming in, just bring your attention back to the breath. And I said, okay, I'm guilty. She knows that my mind is wandering. And I was wondering, while I was there, is there an element of hypnotherapy in it or no?
I guess there is. That
Mm.
is part of my gift that
Yeah,
I just haven't labeled with things. So I've
sure.
had a lot of hypnotherapists say, like, your tone of voice,
Yeah,
what kind of trance, and you just bring this safety that people can surrender. And so I've never studied hypnotherapy. This is all intuitive. I understand psychology, like that has always been my passion, since I've been young, to really understand human behavior, how the mind works, emotions. And so I, with the lesions, allowed me to go even more profound, because we hear about the nervous system, but a lot of people don't know how to interact with it. They don't know how to give the information. And then the spiritual aspect, when people go into meditation, they totally bypass the human part, where it's like, well, I'm here to blend the two.
hmm,
Because yeah, you can do these astral projections and be out there, yet you were here to have a human experience
yeah,
and go through the dense emotions and energies, yet also remember that death isn't what you think it is. Like, the body and the persona that was created, yeah, that will disintegrate. Yet in that, you can connect into your spirit and see, like, oh yeah, when I get in fear and that, oh, everything's going to end. It's like I'm forgetting there's something beyond that. Like, I'm too much into my humanness that I'm not seeing my spiritual. And then some people are just all spiritual and there's no humanness. So people aren't able to relate to get into that spirituality. And
yeah.
I'm here to just fuse the two so that it's not one is dominating the other. Like, it's love and fear. Your nervous system is built out of fear. It has one function: don't die.
Yeah.
It's built out of negative biases. It's built out of looking for the problems. Yet it's your work to feed the mind with the proper questions so it can look for the potential. It can look for the possibilities. It can look for the openings.
I love that. And it's kind of a whole new way of looking at things, isn't it? I mean, I get the whole spiritual thing because I don't know if you've ever heard of an English medium called Mavis Patilla. She passed away there a year or two ago, God rest her soul. But she always said that you can't be so spiritual as to be of no earthly value, which is what you're saying. But then we also have to remember that we will return to spirit. So obviously we have to be careful to a certain extent of how we behave here because, there's consequences for everything. But going back to your kind of transition into the meditation world, do you credit the meditation with your healing?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
I also credit being in the medical system.
Okay.
It's not that this is where, this is unfortunately a lot of religions have indoctrinated us that there's this one thing that brought the miracle.
Hmm.
where it's like it was a variable of things. If I only knew the meditation, then I wouldn't know what the medical system did. You need contrast. I need
Yeah.
to understand, okay, the medical system is doing its best, yet it still doesn't understand things.
Yeah.
And they're doing the best that they can. And then I got to see how traumatic of a profession that is, that you're
Yeah,
not
it
even
is.
able to admit that I really don't know. I got to pump out some kind of theories or something to be validated and look like I have credentials and stuff like that, where there is no space for error because you like humans can die.
Yeah.
So it's a very difficult space, and those, you know, because of the profoundness that I was in, I can see the humanness of being a doctor and nurses, and how some people feel like they have no emotion. And it's like, well, they're not able to be. They're all traumatized. Because
Yeah.
imagine, like, you see one patient, they die, but you got to go back to the next patient and find solutions for them. And this is day in and day out. And it's not, oh, someone died, let me take some time for myself. It's like, I got to get to the next person right now. And so you don't even get to process properly and integrate. Meditation had a significant impact for me to go within. The medical system did not. The medical
Mm.
system allowed me to see that, listen, you're trying to get me to go outside and distrust myself. And that's where I was learning to trust myself. And it looked like I was a risk taker. I looked like I was defiant, probably looked like I was crazy, as some people may say, to not take the guidance that they were saying. I took some of it and it wasn't panning out. So it was like, okay, I'm going to trust my body. Yes, my body's not functioning properly, but what is it? Why is it not functioning? Why are these systems not communicating properly with each other? And the one person that was always the denominator is myself. So
Yourself.
let me see what I can do with the control. Because if there's anything outside of me, I don't have control over that.
It's such a
None.
good way to look at it, you know, and I always say to people, this is why people call them complementary therapies, because you're supposed to do it on top of, the standard medical procedures. Don't give up on the science, but work on yourself at the same time. Come at it from two different angles. Because there's so many things in life that we don't always think, that it comes from us, how we react to things, like, I'm not going to say it's a cause, but it's one of the contributors, if you like, is stress for cancer. So we do need to look at ourselves. We do need to look at how we react to things and how we handle things in order to get, you know do you want to call it a cure, or do you want to call it managing? I don't know, what terminology would you use?
I think it's healing because healing is always continuous.
Well,
People
that's
want
true.
an arrival, the mind wants an arrival, and there's no arrival.
No.
It's having a homeostasis of, can you enjoy life in where you are right now? You might have
Hmm.
pain, you might be disabled, you might have these things, yet can you still be feeling the fullness of life?
Yeah. Yeah. Even while you say that, and for those who are watching on the video on my Patreon, you'll see that I'm smiling, and I just, I was on a course there not so long ago, and the lady that was giving the course, she called on someone, the way you asking a question, and there was a lady there that she was lying down, and she said, "Look at you all comfy having a little nap on the course." And she just turned around and she goes, "I had an accident 25 years ago. I can't even lift my own head anymore." Like, she was actually paralyzed from the neck down. And the person giving the course, like, obviously she was so embarrassed. She didn't know what to say. But the lady was totally okay with where she was on this earth.
Mhm.
She said, "Don't you worry about it." She said, "I've accepted this a long time ago," she said, "but I'm still okay up here and I'm learning so much from you." And that's a part of taking control, isn't it? It's an acceptance, and the acceptance probably allowed her to heal, not physically, but emotionally and mentally, from that. And
Exactly.
I suppose that's part of what meditation can do. So tell us, okay, so you help people with their nervous system through meditation. Who comes to you? So somebody's listening tonight, okay? what would bring them to you? What would be the things? I mean, it's not going to be a definite list or, whatever, but what would be the main issues that people would seek you out for?
A lot of people that have anxiety, a lot of people that have grief, a lot of people that have uh, not a great relationship with anger, because there's such a wrong narrative with anger. Like I was just speaking with somebody before the podcast, and they were like, "Oh, this person has to go to anger management." I'm like, that is such a rubbish title because anger doesn't need to be managed; it needs to be felt. And what people aren't doing is feeling their anger to hear why is it being activated, what is it trying to protect. And so, if you don't, then you're just trying to play the show and pony dance of behavior. And then when anger gets too much, it hijacks your behavior and you project it. So it's like, let's feel the anger and let's release it. And a lot of times, like, some of my clients for the first time, I'll when they're feeling a lot of the intensity, I'm like, okay, go grab a pillow and start yelling in the pillow. And they're like, I can't do that. That's not. And I'm like, have you ever done it before? Well, no. Well, of course it's going to feel very odd and your body's not going to want you to do it because it's throwing all kinds of narrative of what you should look like as an adult. Yet you weren't able to do this as a child, which would have helped you probably when you were a child back then to release this intense energy to be able to express what you're actually feeling, what's going on internally. And it doesn't mean that when we're feeling certain things that it's all truth. It's just the way you're interpreting it, you're not allowing it to have its own truth. So it's building lies. And so the clients that come to me are willing to also start engaging to better understand themselves, to release the narrative that other people have said that they're broken, that they are labeled with certain diagnoses, or they've gone everywhere and they're just not finding any change. I've also had some clients that were at the tip of suicide. And thankfully, by the space of me holding, they're back contributing into society. And that's it. Like, I know those spaces of darkness. And people that take those choices, or like people want to say they're cowards. I'm like, do you know how strong you have to be? Because your biology doesn't want to die.
Yeah.
And so to actually take those actions, and a lot of people don't realize the nightmares that people are going that's going on inside their minds, inside their bodies. The ruminating, the inner critic that gets really loud that you don't know how to disidentify from that. So, there's it's not just a general type of individuals. As you can see, we just met, and the openness that I have, I can hold conversations with almost anybody. And it's just creating that safe space so that people can start going into their biology and being curious about themselves, being curious to go beyond the parameters that they've created for themselves, to see that, oh, I can go beyond this and it's safe. I can be wild, stop being so domesticated, and allow myself to go into that wilderness and be like, oh, the places that they said was dangerous and evil, actually, no, it's really just being human. And there's a little bit more of excitement with life, being able to see different parts of myself, not just being reserved of only feeling half of myself. I can feel the wholeness of myself and stop living for other people. I'm supposed to be the director, the narrative, the person that's shooting the film. So am I actually holding the pen to my story? Am I actually writing some of the script and allowing myself to be messy? Spoiler alert, please, people, life is messy. I
It is.
understand we have been indoctrinated with the perfection of getting the A plus and honor roll to get the adoration and the attention. Yet that only goes for so long, that when life starts to, become impermanent and things change, it's going to get messy. You're going to feel certain parts of yourself that you never felt before. And it's honoring that space of, okay, of course, there's context. Are you allowing the context to be in there?
I love that. You know, um, because I tend to be controlling and I try and control everything. So I need to tell myself more that life is messy. Can I ask you a question? Just something that occurred to me while you were talking, because it's something that's very high in our society today. It's addiction. Is this something that meditation could help with? Is this something that's
Yeah.
affected by the nervous system?
Mhm. Yeah, addiction is simply running away from the pain.
Okay, okay. So
We're
whether
in a
it's,
society that wants to numb pain
yeah, it's true. So whether this is drugs or drink or gambling or chocolate, anything is related to running away
or social media.
or social media,
Social
maybe.
media is our worst addiction
Yeah,
because it nulls it actually depletes our dopamine system. So what another part that people don't understand are the chemical dumps that we get within our body, which are real things: cortisol, dopamine, adrenaline, oxytocin, and a plethora of other ones that happen. So addiction is a pain that people go through, and a lot of times they don't know how to even face it. How many times is it that when we were children or even when we're older, if we are crying and feeling emotional, people try to distract us from it?
they
They're not
do.
able to hold space just to let us go through the curve of it because it's so uncomfortable for them to witness pain. What we are needing in society are those that are being able to witness pain. And I'm one of those. So when some of my clients go through some of their emotions and they go through the whole curve of it and discharge, and they look at me and they're like, how are you not exhausted? Like, how did you? And I'm like, well, I've learned not to intake it because it's not mine. And it's also the gift that I'm giving you space to really feel your emotions so that you can better understand yourself in a place where a lot of us haven't had that safe space.
Sure. Yeah. And you know what? People need someone that just listens these days, don't they? Because so few of us, we're so busy in our own lives, that we don't always take the time to slow down and listen to other people. So like I just love the whole thought of just getting in touch with myself, and learning what makes me tick, because as you said, and you said this whether you realize it or not, you said, that we're all the time allowing others to control us or to um, you know, speak for us. But we spend our lives being the person that everyone expects us to be or making other people proud of us. And we never worry about making ourselves proud, and this is where we need to start from. So it's the connection with self. I'm learning so much from you today. Thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us. So just you know, so that people know, I will have the link to your website, of course, in the description box attached to the podcast here. Um, Typically, how, like, I mean, I guess it depends on the issue that they're contacting you for. But, would somebody in general be looking at 5 sessions, 10 sessions? I suppose until you have that initial call with them, you probably wouldn't be able to say, would you?
No, that they're in charge of that.
They're in charge of that. That's fair enough. And I saw on your website that people can book a 15-minute discovery call with you. So they can chat to you to see, are you going to be someone, that they can work with, and, you can tell them if you're going to be able to help with whatever issue they're coming from. So I would definitely encourage people to do that, because
Mhm.
we'd only be stabbing in the dark to say, yes, I can help with that, or I could do that in 5 sessions or whatever. You need to sit down and have a chat with Natalie. And people call you Nat Nat. I've called you Natalie, but people call you Nat Nat. Okay, and I'm sure Natalie has no problem with you saying Nat Nat. I heard you on Sandie's podcast. Okay, so please do get in touch. Um, is there anything else that you would ask of people, or anything else about your services that you want to make people aware of before we let you go?
If you're in a space of confusion, that's a good place. Because when you allow yourself to be confused and not know, you're going with the flow. But when you think you know all the answers, that's when you're going to fumble in life. I do understand, our minds need organization or structure. It helps, but other people, they thrive in chaos. They can be going with the flow. So again, it's people's. kind of lured into a one size fits all, where it's like, no, we're diverse.
Yeah.
So if there was anything in this conversation or anything that touched you or, just pulled at you, reach out. Reach out on my social medias. It's under Lift Oneself. Send me an email, or book that 15-minute discovery call. I also have a podcast that's called Lift Oneself. And I would love to have you as a guest, Sandie, so you can
Oh, I'd
speak
love it. Thank
about
you.
what you offer to people. And yeah, so if there was anything that resonated, reach out. And if there was anything that you think was a little bit, oh, I want to learn a little bit more, listen to my podcasts, because these are the conversations that I'm having with people. And you will see that I'm pretty quite consistent of, I don't prepare for these things. I'm offering you what I have, and I just always continue doing my work. So a lot of people think that I've arrived somewhere or that they adorn me. And I'm like, don't do that. Like, I'm just as human as you, and I'm exploring, and I might be a little further along the path, and just letting you know it's okay over here. Yet do not put me on any kind of vertical way, because I'm on the same playing field as you are. And what I have within me, I want to guide you into you being able to access it for yourself also. And that's going into your nervous system and going beyond.
And that, like, it's so important. And the other thing that I would like to add on your behalf is ask people to follow you on social media and to bookmark your website, because Natalie's working on a book. Okay, so there's going to be a lot of, really good content in there that, people who are going through things in life are going to be able to connect with, and help yourself with. So the book is going to be interesting. And Natalie's also working on a group program, where she'd be able to help people, because some people aren't necessarily comfortable one-on-one. They're not, comfortable with opening up on a personal level. But what I found, over the years is that people learn from other people. So group programs can be great because you don't have to open your mouth, because somebody else will be there with the same or similar issues, and you will learn from them. So that's also something amazing that's coming up for Natalie in the short term. Okay, so please do follow her on social media, and she will, or even join her mailing list, maybe on her website, and she will keep you up to date with all of that. Natalie, thank you so much for your time. I've really, really enjoyed talking to you, and I will definitely be looking into it more. And I might even be on that group program when you launch it in the next few months, because this is just eye-opening to me. And I didn't understand it. I'm always saying to people, when we're even talking about connecting with spirit, I don't call it meditation because the word scares me. Because I always view meditation as sitting in the lotus position, chanting for hours, and all this. And I'm thinking, I can't do that, and I don't have time to do it because I'm a mother and I'm working full time, and I have a million other things to do, so I don't have time for that. So taking the time out with Natalie, I think, really would be a great thing for people who are finding it difficult, and that includes myself. So I will be in touch, Nat. You will be hearing from me. So guys, thank you so much for listening and taking this time with Natalie and myself today. I will see you in the next episode of the podcast. So until then, take care and stay safe.
Discussing everything about the afterlife and spirit world.